So, what has Excelsior's domain been picking up from eBay? Let's have a look. Now then, here's a gentleman I've been after for some time. This, of course, is the Transformers Autobot Generation 1 Grimlock, leader of the Dinobots team within the Autobot hierarchy. Now, as you will probably know, he has had a lot of sort of different iterations of himself over time, but getting this in the post and seeing the condition he's in brought back incredibly strong memories for me of playing with him as a kid. And he really is, I think, one of those really great early Transformers toys. And his alt mode, although completely impractical in the time in which he was using it, i.e. the modern day ish, you know, although it was completely impractical, it was also brilliant because kids love dinosaurs. What do kids love even more than dinosaurs? Possibly robots. Let's do a robot dinosaur. Now, he is based off a Takara Diaclone original, which surprised me mildly when I just checked a moment ago. I mean, I'm doing this quite late on a Sunday night, having driven a rather lot of miles this weekend, but I wanted to get a video up for you on Monday as I normally do, so I'm doing this one now. And I did hit really lucky with this auction, I think, because as you can see, he's got most of his stickers are in pretty decent shape. He's got a nice Autobot insignia on his tummy there. He transforms really well. His joints are pretty good. And although he has a lot of sort of stuff happening on his back here, he does stand remarkably well considering he's got a bit of a temptation to sort of tilt backwards. And I'd forgotten in transforming him for the first time when he arrived, he's actually relatively complex as Transformers go for a Generation 1 era sort of Transformer. I was also lucky in that I got his missile launcher gun, which is not necessarily present obviously in loose examples. I also got his twin barrel sort of, I believe it's supposed to be a stun gun, this one, allegedly. But that was the sort of the laser cannon that he had. Now, the one thing I am, however, therefore missing, although I do have 2 spare missiles as well, so I've got all his missiles, I don't have his energy sword. And I was slow in realizing that I didn't have that. It was only when he arrived I realized I was missing something. It was a little bit unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. Now, if you've never seen him actually sort of transform, I was going to try and do it slowly in stages so you could see it, but why don't I just try and do it in front of you, because you might then see what I'm talking about in terms of just how clever this transformation is. Because, for example, I'd forgotten little things like this. His hips aren't fixed, so you bring his legs out here like this, but then his entire sort of hip assembly moves down. Unless I completely misremembered that. No, I haven't. But they are just extraordinarily stiff. Which is great in a toy this age. That's kind of what you want. So you end up with his legs and his feet together like that. So that's the sort of first step. And then you just roll his lower legs up onto his upper legs, flick everything up onto his back here, and then bring those side elements in. And there you go. You've got a Tyrannosaurus tail segment, dead easy. In fact, he's still got his rub sticker there, and it is working. It's always difficult to see these on the videos, but you might see this on a bigger screen possibly. But that is definitely reacting to my thumb heat, which is awesome. It's always nice to see that when it works. So his top half then, again, it's fairly straightforward, but again, just very simple and very clever. So his forearms move forwards to conceal his fists, and then you've got dinosaur legs. No problem. Job's good. But you'll see here, he's still got a very sort of metal red waistline there, and that's because he needs to do this. So you just lift his chest cavity up and hinge it forwards, and then that will slot over the red centerpiece there and leave his head hanging in midair. But then his little dinosaur arms come in there to form a sort of a cocoon around his head, and his dinosaur head pops down like that with another Autobot insignia on top of there. So it's pretty easy to spot, even if he wasn't a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And he's got a nice opening and shutting jaw there. And that is Grimlock in his Tyrannosaurus Rex mode. And it's just brilliant because it's really solid. There's nothing to break there. So you can play with that till you're blue in the face, and you're not going to break him. Oops! I just inadvertently fired the still working missile launcher. Apparently, the Hasbro version is toned down from the Takara version, because this is apparently quite lethal compared to the there you go, the Takara version. So he wasn't my only pickup from the gentleman who was, I think, selling elements of his own collection, as is sometimes the way. I always think it's a little bit sad, but on the plus side, it's going to someone who will also appreciate it. So, there is that at least. But this is the other random pickup I got from his collection. And again, the funny thing is, Grimlock has this little hatch. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but he's got this little hatch on his back, which is actually a seat. Now, I don't know if this is a sort of a holdover from his original Japanese design. Was he a sort of like a Micronauts kind of guy, and he had a little sort of rider? But ironically, this little chap, who I picked up at the same time, also fits in there quite nicely. It's Tweaky. It's a now I might pronounce this wrong. A Mego Twiki. Now, I've never ever sought to get him as a Buck Rogers character. I did get a very tiny version of him with a Buck Rogers Starfighter once, and I was dimly aware that let's call them Mego had done Buck Rogers and a few of the larger figures. I'm not sure I'd really realised that they'd done a Tweaky, but this was in this guy's other items, and I thought I think I want to get him. So I put the bid in, and lo and behold, get him I did. And he's a rather lovely little sculpt. He's got Dr. Theophilus on his chest there, as you can see. So I think the previous version that I've shown you didn't really have that. It had a bit of a sort of gap there, but it didn't really try. But this is incredibly articulated for its size. So he's got a moving sort of chest area there. Let me just move Grimlock a little bit out of the way so he's not distracting. He's got a moving chest area, which I can feel is a sort of rubber band kind of joint. But his arms are hinged at the elbow, a little bit like how Playmates would do it, actually. He's got his little sort of Tweaky claws, but they look like Tweaky claws. They're not, it properly looks like him. His head sculpt's really good. That does, it looks very much like Tweaky. He's got his little sort of Tweaky short skirt at the back there. And he's got legs that bend at the knees as well. And this is, it's a good sort of 40 odd years old, this little figure. And he's holding up remarkably well. I mean, I think he'll stand up quite happily like that. He's just a really, really interesting little character. And as I say, it wasn't something I was thinking of getting at all. So had he not just sort of turned up on this guy's other items, I probably wouldn't have bothered. Or certainly I wouldn't have been, I don't think eBay would even have necessarily thrown him up for me. But I just think he's a really cool little figure who looks as he should. And he's standing up, as I say, by himself. He's incredibly well articulated for his age. And they've gone to the effort of giving him a little sort of painted Dr. Theophilus character on his chest as well. So that's brilliant, and it does kind of make me wonder whether or not I could pick up some other loose examples of them, because I think carded they are pretty pricey. But just getting them loose like that, I thought that was a really, really nice little pickup. And I can show you one other thing I've got on eBay, but it's not at all related to sort of robots. But I just got this. Every now and again, I get recommended random stuff, and this was just a really nice. Now I want to get this right. I think this is a Matchbox, but it's got a subset. Oh, super! Is it super fast? Let's see if I can read that. Ooh, there we go. Yeah, super fast. So it's a Pontiac Firebird. Now, oh yeah, Lesky. There we go. So that's that car. That's nearly a 50-year-old car. Wow. Okay. Gosh. But I'm pretty sure that this was one of those ones I had when I was little, which I really, really sort of enjoyed having in my collection. It's these two sort of intakes on the front there that are reminding me. I'm not sure if mine was this colour, mind you. I'm not quite sure if mine was this colour, but nevertheless, it was reminiscent enough that I thought I need to sort of pick it up and just add it to my kind of generic little sort of corgi Matchbox collection that I've got going at the moment. But yeah, I mean, getting Grimlock in this condition with as many accessories as I got with him for the price I paid for him, really, really happy with that. So as a little sort of grouping of eBay pickups, I was really, really happy with these, and it definitely goes to show that it's, even if you're not looking for something, if you come across a guy or a lady who is selling the sort of thing that is your cup of tea, they may well be selling other things that it's worth, that you would probably like. So it's worth actually just going to look at their other things and just sort of seeing, is there anything else that I would actually like in there? Because you just don't know what you're going to trip across. And as I say, I wasn't looking for Tweaky, but I'm glad that I found him because I think it's a really fun little figure to have in my collection. And Grimlock, well, again, I mean, Grimlock almost certainly was thrown up for me. But oh no, I was trying to think. It was something else. That's right. This is the funny thing about this one, actually. The backstory to this was that I was looking for something completely different. I think I was still on the hunt, as I still am, for a Terrahawk's Battlehawk. And I think this guy might have had one, but it was a bit too beaten up for my taste in this particular, for what I wanted it for. So although I didn't engage on that, that was when I had a look at his other items and saw the Tweaky and the Grimlock, and I went, now I've got to spend some money on those instead because they're too good to actually miss. So that is what led me to find these two. That's right. So it was a completely unrelated item that I was looking for, where I ended up just by happenstance, I hit seller's other items and I came up with Tweaky and Grimlock. So a more random pairing you cannot imagine. But as I say, the funny thing is that Tweaky can actually ride Grimlock. So that is quite funny. But anyway, on that bombshell, I will leave it there. I have got quite a few things to catch up on with you, but as you might have seen, I've had a little pause because I was at the Royal International Air Tattoo with my son. So I need to get sort of back into the swing of things. But actually doing this one is quite nice because I've also had to reduce the size of my OneDrive over the weekend. So doing that will now allow me to sort of let this upload as it normally would and carry on producing as I normally would. So although it's been a quiet weekend in terms of actually producing content, although I did comment on Deadpool and Wolverine briefly, which is brilliant, to go and see it if you haven't, because you need to do it before you get spoiled, because it's much better if you haven't seen spoilers, I think, personally. But yeah, go and see that, and I will keep on making stuff for you. Cheers for now.